The word of my testimony for which I was slain. Chapter 4. The Chasm. When I was a teenager, God gave me a dream, a vision. As I was walking along the path, I noticed what appeared to be a red crack in the ground to the right side of the path. I continued walking. The crack became wider. I could see that the red color was whatever lay at the bottom of the crack, far below my feet. Looking ahead, I could see the crack became even wider up ahead. Continuing on for a time, this crack next to the path had grown into a wide chasm. I stopped to contemplate the bright red I saw far below me. I slipped and began falling. It seemed like I fell for a long time. I thought maybe that is molten lava below me. As I continued falling, I began to see more details in the red. As I sped closer and closer to my certain doom, it became clear that the floor was a highly polished red marble stone. As I was about to collide with the red marbled floor and thinking, this is going to hurt, my descent slowed and I gently touched down feet first. I looked up to see if I might be able to climb out, but the walls were smooth, so climbing was out. I began looking around in the hopes I would find someone to show me the way out. I noticed several doors along the chasm wall, so I went into the first door. It was a large room with a high ceiling. The room was empty except for near the back was a raised portion of the floor that was round, not touching the walls. In the center of the platform was a large freestanding mirror in a wood frame. Hoping to find a clue or item that would help me get back to the path, I approached the mirror. Finding nothing useful, I stood in front of the mirror, looking at myself. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary. Needing to find a way out, I turned away from the mirror to go on to the next door. Feeling compelled to look at my reflection once more before moving on, I turned back and there was a poster taped to the mirror. So I looked, and it appeared to be an advertisement for a rock concert, and the rock star, as I looked closer, was me. I thought, cool. I began to closely examine the poster, wondering how many albums I had and what were the song names. As I read the descriptions and studied the pictures, I slowly began to notice that my music seemed to be similar to death metal, a style of music I didn't particularly care for. My face had tattoos in the picture, my clothes were all black, and I had on chains and pendants and rings. There was imagery of horns and snakes and pretty much stuff I considered evil. I didn't like the man I saw. I didn't want to become him, even if all that evil stuff was just an act. I went on to the next room. I can't recall anything in detail. In the moments of waking after this dream, I was able to articulate most of it in my head. But when I told the dream to my mom later that morning, specifics about each door and how many there were had already began to fade. But I have never forgot its conclusion. It had profound meaning to me then, and now as I apply its imagery and symbolism to what God is working in me, it takes on even more profound meaning. Back to the second room of my dream. What I had been confronted with specifically, I can't say. I know it was a simple challenge of a moral nature. It seemed this challenge was meant to point out that choosing one option was obviously evil and the other choice was the correct answer because it wasn't the evil choice, revealing to me that I wanted to be good, not evil, like the poster on the mirror. I decided to go back to the mirror to see if anything had changed. The poster was still there. I perceived some slight differences in the text, but the overall evil vibe was still strong. Beginning to realize that each door in the chasm represented either a character flaw or a real-life decision I would face later in life that would define who I'd become as a result of that decision, I continued my quest with great curiosity. In some rooms, I would leave feeling greatly disturbed as each new room was more challenging than previous rooms. I learned I was capable of immense evil, and that even as I walked through life wanting to do only good, evil was always right there in me, waiting for a moment of distraction so it could manifest itself in me and through me. After I had completed each room, I would return to the mirror in the hope that evil me had disappeared. Finally, after the last door, I returned to the mirror. I felt dismayed upon seeing no poster on the mirror. I just stood there searching my reflection for any trace of that guy I didn't want to become. Not seeing him with my eyes, I knew he was in there, just waiting to leap forward and assume control. I felt a bit hopeless because I had not been able to make the changes necessary to not do evil, and I still hadn't found a way out of the chasm I had fallen into. Having no idea what I should do next, I turned to look at the mirror one last time. I felt a surge of excitement as I saw a new poster was taped to the mirror. I looked and saw it was still a concert poster, and my image, large and centered, was changed. My hair was all white with a thick, long ponytail. There were no chains and gaudy jewelry. As I scanned a list of song titles in the text, they were all themes celebrating life, love, and light. I woke up and reviewed as much as I could remember in my mind. I knew that dream had changed me. I woke up a new person, and I didn't want to lose the memory of how it happened. I knew God had touched my life. I told it to my mom, then later my dad, and also my brother. Through the years, I've told it to many people, and each time I did, it seemed details I couldn't quite recall were for me only, and that what I've written here tells the dream's meaning and purpose adequately.